Welcome to Cram for the Exam.
It's that time of year again. We're all preparing for the high-stakes AP American Government exam. These are your two teachers helping you out with a little prep session.
Today's theme, foundations.
Yeah, the foundations of government, the base of government in terms of particularly the underlying ideals and, of course, that written constitution.
Remember, when we're talking about American government, we're talking about where should the power lie. And initially, Andy, it lied in the Articles of Confederations, a document that, frankly, didn't work.
It didn't work because it had too little power in central government. Central government wasn't able to collect taxes. Central government wasn't able to put down insurrections like Shays' Rebellion.
There was no executive branch. There was no judicial branch. And the Congress was virtually powerless because it couldn't tax. Andy, how to make a government stronger but not too strong? That was the question facing the Constitutional Convention in 1787.
Yes, they wanted to make the central government stronger, but they are also remembering the ideals of the American Revolution, those ideals coming from the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal, and the statements about liberty. But how do you have liberty if your government is getting stronger, your central government gets stronger? Those are the battles in the room in Philadelphia.
How do you reconcile liberty with order? And Andy, some of those same questions vex us today. Let's look at some of the principles that they finalized at the Constitutional Convention, like popular sovereignty.
Well, we the people symbolizes that in the end, the American government rests on the foundation of popular supporters, popular sovereignty.
How about separation of powers?
Well, we see the separation of powers in conjunction with checks and balances, the idea that we're creating a stronger central government, but that we were going to divide that power over three branches of government to avoid tyranny.
You know, Republican government over democracy. In a Republican form of government, we elect representatives, Andy. In a direct democracy, the voters directly make choices on policy. The Founding Fathers weren't too keen on public opinion dictating policy. They chose a Republican form of government.
And yet the only office that was directly elected by the people, according to that original Constitution, was the House of Representatives. The senators got their jobs through appointment by state legislators, and the president was indirectly elected through the Electoral College.
They tried to mitigate that power in one place by creating something we call federalism. Federalism divides the power between the national, state, and local governments. Multiple sovereignties.
Well, they also protected the rights of individual liberties. After the adoption and ratification of the original Constitution, the very first Congresses, followed by the states, ratified the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution.
And of course, our preferred position in the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment's free speech clause.
Right, the right to free speech, the right to free press, embodies this very powerful notion that the people have the right to challenge government, to inform the people so that we can create an educated citizenry to hold government officials accountable.
Let's talk a little bit about those civil liberties and civil rights today, Andy. Although these are important principles that are well over 200 years old, they're still as meaningful now. In fact, those Bill of Rights were applied to the states using a concept known as selective incorporation. The 14th Amendment, later passed following the Civil War, its Due Process Clause and Equal Protection Clause was used by the central government, the Supreme Court, to apply the Bill of Rights to the states.
And we know that through a case-by-case basis, the Supreme Court has applied, at this point, most of the Bill of Rights to the states. So, for instance, the Second Amendment, we've had recent cases where the Supreme Court has said that cities and local governments must allow citizens to own guns at some point.
And certainly when we look at civil rights, Andy, we've extended many of our principles of equality and liberty to groups like African Americans and Latinos and women, Andy.
Well, particularly in civil rights cases with the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, which was at the heart of cases like Brown versus the Board of Education. We also have the incorporation of the Fourth Amendment's protection from unreasonable search and seizure by even state and local police, or the Fifth Amendment, which guarantees that state and local police have to allow you to remain silent if they're questioning you.
Andy, we've talked about foundations today, and we've talked about really the birth of our Constitution, a document well over 200 years old, but still guiding the lighthouse of our American government. How to make a government strong, but not too strong. One last point. Can it be changed? Can we amend the Constitution? And the answer is yes, but we haven't changed it very often. In fact, only 27 amendments. But how do you change it?
Well, you change it by proposing an amendment with 2/3 support in each chamber of Congress, but then 3/4 of the states are needed to ratify that amendment. And of course, mixing Congress's powers with the ratification powers of the states, mixing those two powers is an example of federalism in itself.
We're cramming for the exam. Today we're looking at American foundations. No fancy words, no fancy suits. Plain talk about issues you need to know.
Just in time.